Hey y'all, it's your girl Tay with the T, and this morning I have came to y'all with another story. Happy Monday to everyone. Hope you enjoyed your Easter, but that's exactly what this video is about. Easter, the tragedy that took place on Easter. It had to be at least 4 or 5 stabbings across New York City yesterday, which is bad, and which brings me to the factors of why I'm doing this video. Easter is normally a holiday where kids go out, enjoy themselves. They put on their new outfits. They go to the movies. They do egg hunting, candy collecting, Easter basket getting, movies going. Basically, they look for that day to go out to look good and enjoy themselves. But unfortunately, when you have people that have or don't mean any good, they go out and they cause situations in areas where children have to be. It's bad when you have to decide whether you want to take your child to have a good time or stay at home, because it's safer to be in the house with your kid than out having a good time like a child should be able to. It was to the point, let's just get into the fact, they done shut down so many places. Kids really have any place to go. And that's the reason why so many people are on the street causing mischief, because they got too much time on their hands. So when you have certain holidays that come around where it consists of multiple people being outside at one time, you just have nothing but a cause for confusion. And when you have to be paranoid going into certain situations where you're supposed to be able to go in situations and have a good time, it makes it very hard to go out and have a good time. You sit there, you start thinking to yourself, listen, I'd rather not, because if it's going to save my life to stay at home, I'd rather stay at home, which it cuts down the factors of people being able to interact with people on a normal note. Now, what is a normal note? Even being able to be within groups of people. When you be around groups of people at this point in time, you're more on the walking on eggshells, so to speak, type of situation, because you don't know who is who, what, and what might happen within the factors of this group. I mean, it can be harmless, just being honest. But with the things that's going on, everything that may be nothing makes you paranoid to think that it's something. At the end of the day, I can just be walking past and wind up in something that don't have anything to do with me. And unfortunately, if you do live in an area where it's warm all the time, then kudos to you. But that's also a gift and a curse, because when it's warm outside, getting warm outside, or the weather is good outside, that's what brings more people outside. And the more people that is outside, which brings more problems outside. And social media really don't help, because when social media got people out here feeling like everybody is a hero, gangster hero, when you actually see people in real life, which means the street, you on guard, because you done talk so much shiznai to people online. So you don't know who is who. Especially when you talking smack to everybody that can be somebody, because you never know who somebody is. But yes, Easter, some people celebrate it. Some people don't, for religious reasons or just for their own reasons. But for traditional reasons that children are used to celebrating that holiday, even if you don't have a religion that falls behind it, you understand? You just like to look good and go out and have a good time on this day like everybody else. It's becoming more complicated. And only thing it did, like I said, was make me realize even more on what we dealing with on the day-to-day basis. Why the streets is the way the streets is. Ain't no more after school programs. Ain't no more PALs and Boys and Girls Club and basketball leagues. And don't get me wrong, you see a couple of few, but if you're not a parent that could afford, or a parent that has multiple children where you can't afford to send those into those programs that you have to pay for, it just makes it sad, because then your child just ends up lost in the sauce, because being that they don't have anything to do, that leaves them to find something to do. And most times when they find something to do, it end up being some doo-doo, basically. Because if you just run in the street, when you run the street, you're going to find the things that happen in the street. And after Corona, a lot of businesses or a lot of places that you was able to take your children before, you are no longer able to take them now. And not even for medical reasons, but for the reason some of these businesses was not able to recover after such a big hit. When you being closed down for weeks, well, days, weeks, and months at a time, there's no flow. So what's going to keep these doors open? So a lot of doors, unfortunately, had to close to never be opened again. But what does that do to the people that still need to move around in society to have these things as needs? Because if I'm used to having this thing, and now this thing is removed, I have to replace it 9 times out of 10 with something else. But who's to say that the something else is going to be something good? I remember they had all types of programs that your kids could be signed into, up for, and be a part of. If they wanted to learn music, they had programs that you could sign your kids up for music. If your kids was into art, they had programs that you could sign your kids up for art. If your kids that was into, now even down to sending your child to something like karate class or something like that, they charging almost $700 a month. If not more than that, maybe way up to $15. So if you have one child and you paying almost $1,500 a month for them to be able to have an extra activity, if you have multiple children that you choose to have multiple activities for, what do you do in a situation like that? Do you pick and choose which child you give the extra activity, or do everybody lose out on being prosperous in a situation? Because if you're not doing anything to prosper, it stops you from being able to prosper. So yes, Easter was very much a tragedy. It was a tragedy for the people that was stabbed throughout the boroughs, the 5 boroughs, okay, because people don't know how to act. It was a tragedy for the mothers and the parents, the fathers that had to try to attempt to find something for their kids to do, to have a good time. It was a tragedy for the kids because they had to wait to see what their parents was going to find for them to do to have a good time, being that things were not that many. You didn't have that many decisions, you know? On top of the fact, if you are into religion and you are used to, you go to church and such on that Easter Sunday, a lot of churches didn't recover from COVID either. So if you once went to a church or once was a part of a church that no longer exists, that's kind of like being put out of a home, because a church is a second family. So once you lose that family, because people feel like connecting virtual and over the phone, it does not have this, it does not create the same recipe. It don't. If you cook something and I cook something, we could use the same seasoning, same meat, same everything. But that does not mean it's going to come out with the same flavor. So once you start removing things that go along with the ingredients, it really changes up what was supposed to be into what the heck is this? I remember going to church when I was younger and having on my nice little Sunday dress with my little trench coat, my little pocketbook, and my little white wicker basket hat, if that's what you want to call it, and my little bow, and my hair done. even though my hair never looked the same by the time I got home that day. Because, you know, Easter you was going to enjoy. You couldn't wait. You know, church finished. Ooh, I can't wait. I can't wait. So, to not have those same traditions, it's kind of hard. Because now you have to find where you fit. Now you have to find where you fit. And if you feel that you fit nowhere, let's say it that way, because I was about to say it wrong. If you feel that you fit nowhere, then that leaves you to cut yourself off from everything and actually become, which is nothing wrong with being a loner, but when you alone all the time, when you put yourself in situations where now you need to socialize, you so used to not being able to trust anybody that it messes with the way that you need to deal with anybody. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want people because what's your purpose? What's your purpose? Who sent you? You know, you got to think, who sent you? But this has been your girl, Tay with the T. Had to come through and give my opinion on the little Easter tragedy. Far as the stabbed victims, the victims that were stabbed. Sorry that people still don't know how to act. And to basically give my opinion on the fact that kids is really suffering out here. Kids is really suffering out here because it's little or nothing for them to do. And that's why our babies keep ending up on the news. Either going to a grave or going to be a slave. Either one. Neither one is good, but it's seeming like those is the only two options that they're being left with. Either they going to a grave or they going to be a slave. Meaning that they're going to be on that plantation which they call jail. Do you understand? And if you don't want your children to end up in those type of situations, then it's basically almost sad that you have to almost hold them captive when you only trying to keep them safe from the things that you don't want them to innocently fall victim of. You could have a good kid that could wind up in a bad situation from bad placement, which ends up with bad outcomes. Because not only do gangbanger kids lose their lives, but innocent children lose their lives too. And the more that the days go on and the less that they have in these neighborhoods for these kids to do, the more they will create war on themselves. Because it's bad when you don't see more of any other race fight against their own kind more than this race right here, which is ridiculous. You won't go to another country in war. Like, if you really want war, sign up to the service. Become part of the Navy, the Marines, the Army, things like that. If you choose that you have the fighting spirit and you want to fight for something, then hey, go fight for your country. At least you're legally doing what it is that you're doing. But when you creating war and havoc on people that's just like you bugging out for that. And you don't get no cool points for that. Because you can't be really in war with nobody other than yourself. And a lot of people don't like who they are as people themselves. So they take that anger out on hurting others in any way that they can. It's like death by design. You understand what I mean? I don't like me. That means I don't like you. So that means I'm going to do the things to you that I feel have been done to me. And even if not on the same level, I'm going to make sure I dish it so people feel it. Selfish. But make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell another friend and tell them again. Your girl is definitely on that 100K subscriber chase. Help me win this race. Any goal is a great goal. You understand what I mean? Just make sure you stay hopeful. And your girl is at.
La 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 lattes were a.